So guys, welcome back to my channel, and today I want to show you some stuff how to do Warframe Tenno details, because I got some actual questions from people that they don't know how to proceed with this, and for sure it can be quite challenging. So that's why I want to demonstrate how to do details for many factions like Tenno, Corpus, Greenear, Infested, and so on. So let's get started. So the first thing that I want to mention is that Digital Extremes have released for Warframe Tenno their Warframe website for Tenno. This Tenno website has a lot of guides, like you can see here. For example, this is like faction style guide. There's like description what they think that this style of faction within the game has common, which would be, for example, Tenno has a lot of like organics and hard surface combined together, but hard surface is just a little bit. Then we have like Grenier, which is like really like rude metallics, but not like metallics, but like metallic panels and a lot of like junk combined and such. So here is a lot of versions of this, so I really recommend to read this. So this is like number one tip that I would give you, is to read all of this stuff, because I often find out that some people don't actually read it, and they make like pretty a lot of hours put into the skins, and then they're like, okay, yeah, this didn't work out because I didn't read it. So the first thing, read this page. So what I want to show you is how to use brushes for each style, and what kind of brushes to use, and what kind of settings to tweak, and basically what kind of strokes to do, how to create Tenno, Greeny, Entrati, and so on. So let's begin. So the first brush that I'm using for mostly Tenno is them standard brush. This creates a lot of creases that are organic and natural. So once you start doing it, you will see that it creates a lot of these creases that look a lot of like wrinkles on the skin, and this is very good for Warframe, for Warframes, also for the infested, and yeah, sometimes this dem standard is basically good for like most of the factions, but you usually want to use this one as wrinkles creator, and like this is the best way how to use it. You can also use it for panel gapping. Like for example, you're creating a corpus style, so you need to like create a lot of hard angle lines like this, and this is also like common for the Tenno style. So basically this kind of detailing that you want to do with the dem standard, you can do either like go deep, which is normal, or you can hold Alt and just make it inverted, which is good for basically tracing these lines like this, and this creates naturally the Warframe look that you need to achieve. So the other brush is shortcut BCB, which is clay buildup. You can use it in this base default version, but it's good like for creating like sort of like muscles, or you're just bulking out the base of the mesh. It's not very good for detailing, because once you are going like into opposite direction, then it creates a lot of like rectangle artifacts. So what I usually do is that I use this brush, but what I do is I change the alpha to the alpha 1, for example, and this creates nice, like, sort of, you know, tube like details when you're holding it. So this is like good brush if you are doing like detailing. This is good brush to create so-called brackets, and the brackets are a cool feature on the Tenno style, which are usually they are on like line. And imagine that, you know, this is like the other panel and this is like separated like this, and you can use this clay buildup brush to sort of technically hold it together. And this is used, for example, on the Garuda. Here on the Prime Garuda, you can see these pins are here, they're also here, and they are basically holding the two separated materials together within some line. So let's try it. So this is how you can use it, and see that it suddenly feels like it's like sort of connected, and it's very simple detail. It's not like technical, but it feels that this piece is connected with this piece. So this is, for example, pins on this brush, or you can use it for tracing over, and this is also often used on the hard surface parts or even organics. You can also, this clay buildup, you can also with the DEM standard, you can trace it again, and it creates nice look, and it suddenly looks like Warframe, which is good. So the another brush that I use, or just let's keep it there, so I will be using the brushes more naturally. So the another brush I use is brush /3. This brush works a little bit differently. So while you have them standard and you are working under like this kind of angle and you're doing the stroke, it's always like direct on the mesh, you know. But the /3, which is unique for this brush, it works a little bit differently, and that's why I love it. Is if I do the same thing with the /3, you can see that /3 didn't slash it like this, but under the angle, you know. So that's why I am using it for panel gaps. And this is like the best use, for example, in this kind of scenario. So you can directly sculpt on this line, create it even more strong. Also from this side, and such. I think we should be working with the higher resolution. So this is how you can use it. You can also use it as DEM standard in most of ways. So this also is possible to do this kind of strokes, but you need to keep in mind that these strokes are from the angle that you're cutting, not directly on it. So this is the brush that I like to use a lot for hard surface kind of details. What I usually do is that I change the alpha to the alpha 39 and do focal range -50, and this creates a very 45 kind of degree angle cut. So you can see how it looks, sort of. It's more like deep and more under angle. It can give you like these kind of dots that are not together. So how to fix it is you go to the stroke and lazy mouse, and lazy step you move to the 0.9, for example. If I do it now, it will be much more smooth. There are no dots inside of the stroke. So how you want to use this brush? Basically, yeah, that's the line that I did. You can also do it like this. For example, this is a very good brush for the corpus, for the Tenno. It's also good for the entrati. So this is like very strong brush to create nice panel gaps. You can also do like lines like this with the alt. So that's how you can create sort of harder edges, so it looks more hard and sharp instead of like soft fall. And the brush that I use is a chisel brush. So chisel brush I use mostly for certain details that are mostly like holes inside of the mesh and such. So that's, for example, if I want to use like some kind of paneling lines like this that are sort of like holes, that's why I use in this case the chisel brush. You can also use it, for example, inverted, and I would say that this brush is very good for linear as well. So these are mostly all of the brushes that I use. So let's demonstrate how to use these brushes on some kind of shape that I modeled here. And I'll be not talking very much during this process because I need like a little bit more thinking, and I'm not a native speaker, but I'll try to at least say like what kind of brushes I use, and hopefully you will manage to follow with me. So uh, first of all, like the best way how to start working on something is to have some kind of idea and design what you want to do. So this kind of shape is not very sufficient to demonstrate the Tenno style, or either, for example, this shape for the infested is absolutely like almost not able to be, like satisfy the infested style. And so it also applies for the Grenier, because each of these styles have a lot of different shapes within these styles. So when you have like infested, they are sort of, organic and flowy, and they have a lot of like these pimples and uh, tentacles and such. Then you have like Tenno, which for this shape is possible to at least some kind of make into the Tenno style. So it's also like best to show on like some direct example, which I am hoping to do with one of my friends that needs to help with her skin. So stay tuned for that. Okay, so I have prepared this to some kind of state that you guys always like get stuck with, and you basically make some kind of strokes that look a little bit of like panels, but it's still not like right there up to the I would say like the level. So I will now proceed how to handle these kind of lines and what kind of details you can use that I have also mentioned it before, and how to make it more natural and better looking as Tenno style in this case. So what's always good is that you can trace the lines twice, for example, and this creates, you would be amazed how good it sometimes looks. So I'm using the dem standard, just do it like this, and for example here it can go like this, and I trace it again, which is already looking a little bit more interesting. Then what's also good, you can do it with them standard, you can do lines like this, and it adds a lot more sort of hard surface look. Add a little bit of resolution. And what's also good is sometimes on the end of some kind of like curvature and such, you can do sort of like U kind of shape, something sort of like this. This creates some kind of like pin that's like inside. So always you can think of it a little bit more like intuitively, how it could be designed, like logically, if sculpting that kind of details that are sort of hard surface. So I will continue on this. And this is like not really great, this kind of, you know, like not exactly anything sort of lines. So for example, I will here this /3 and we'll try to like visually make it separate. And like this. I'm a little bit refining it, and now that I have this line, I can work with it a little bit better. So it's always good, for example, to trace it, and you'll get plenty of good results. It also add a lot of like complexity and interesting sort of, you know, the visual depth that you need, and without like thinking about it too much. You can also do it on the other side. So you can see how it's much more interesting. What you can also do, like if you have panel like this, you can do like them standard. I make it a little bit more bigger and more intensity a little bit small. And what you can do is sort of add depth with it. So like this. And once you have this kind of detail, it like sort of naturally acts like, okay, I can use this, you know. So what you can do is again use this kind of crease, and you can use it with sort of like clay buildup. You can also add clay buildup like this, you know, and suddenly it looks much more interesting. And if you have curvature like this, then you can sort of break it up, this kind of like hard surface look, to make it a little bit more Tenno. And you can do it with temp standard. I can do a soft line, then I can do it a bit more stronger line. Doesn't even need to fall off the other lines, you know, it can be like this, for example. And now I can go again, for example, and create nice layering sort of look, you know, and you can use this for your advantage to create a lot of depth on a very flat surface. I can use slash here to make it a bit more stronger. Also, these kind of lines are good on the sharp edges. And suddenly it looks like a lot of Tenno, but you can see that for some time it looked like a little bit more like sort of almost like greeny or corpus like sort of panel like and edges. But then I always come and complement it with some kind of natural strokes. So let's continue with this, and now on this part we can do like metallics. So with metallics, what I like to do, for example, clay buildup, and I go like around the edges with it. And this sort of naturally creates some sort of like rail, and this you can use for metallics. How you can a little bit more make it sort of hard and sharp, you can use edge polish. So I'm using edge polish here. By the way, this takes a lot of practice to master the edge polish brush, because it's like a very sensitive brush for mistakes. And now it suddenly looks a bit more hard surface. I can use /3. I can a little bit more like, you know, deviate from the original path. And this will be my metallics. These metallics are usually like not very detailed. Sometimes they are, but you need to have like a little bit more clean surface to basically let it shine. You can have some sort of strokes through it to a little bit like, you know, say that okay, this is like metallics, this is hard surface, but you don't need to do too much strokes or too deep. So maybe it doesn't look like metallics, but once you apply the metallics, then it will look like metallics. So if you, for example, can test it with the shiny material or this kind of reflective or this gold, you see that this part here will be shining nicely. So this we have like sort of organic panel, like this is kind of metallics, and let's, for example, here work on something more like technical. So I usually always like start also a little bit more organic with technical stuff, but as I proceed more with development, it begins to look less organic and more hard surface. So I can do stuff like this. I use here a clay buildup brush, and now I can use H polish again to flat it out a little bit. So it's more like rectangular, not as tubular. And I go with this now. Like this. And I always try to make the lines a little bit more varied and not often too samey. I can do it like this. So here I am already thinking like this could be some sort of emissive. I can use a chisel brush here. Also I can use chisel brush here. This will add a lot of like you know, joints, like holes that have something inside them, or they are connected somehow. So this will be my Tenno detailing sort of process. And let's try to just paint it up, and we'll see how it suddenly looks. Makes sense. So this will be like dark technical part. This will be metallics, which are like a lot brighter than other stuff. And this will be the like sort of a bright panel that you can use. And here you could use like, for the Tenno, could use the these sort of cool lines that often they use to accentuate the primaries. So what you can also do is go to the material only, and I can swap it to the more shiny, and I can change it to the metallics so it looks a little bit more like metallics and can give us like more visual idea what are we doing with. And for example, if you see something that could be, you know, used differently, and go for it. You can use it like here. This could be metallic again. And for example, here could be, I use the sketch toy plastic, I think, for painting sort of like emissive lines. It looks a little bit more like emissives if you paint it that way. Use white here again. So yeah, this is how you approach the Tenno art style, and yeah, I think this is a suggestion how you can do it and how you should do it. You should always like pay in mind that you should have technical parts, metallics. Usually you should have metallics and these kind of panels that are sort of something in between the organic and panel-like features, which are these ones. So I think I will make in another video. Maybe I will make, if you want to do me a lot of other factions as well, like Corpus, Greenear, you know, Sentience, Entrati, then subscribe and let me know, and like this video, share it with your other friends that are trying to do some Tenno stuff or trying to learn how to sculpt a style like Warframe. So thank you very much and see you tomorrow.